So I'm recording this the same time I'm recording my reaction and review of episode 6 of the Magnus Protocol. So once I get into episode 5, I'll be in a different location and younger by a few weeks, by a week or so. But yes, I wanted first to give a little intro, I guess. I think I forgot to do the intro for episode 5, but anyways. Hi, my name is David. I've been talking about the Magnus Archives and the Magnus Protocol, horror podcasts produced by Rusty Quill, mostly written by Jonathan Sims, mostly directed by, I'm pretty sure he directed most of it, Alexander J. Newell. And yeah, so I am doing a review and going through like every episode of the Magnus Protocol as it's coming out, giving my like first impressions, and I'm trying to glean my own ideas and information and theories based solely on what I think and not colored by anything I see in the fandom. I just want to see what I can glean by myself, because when listening to Magnus Archives, I would always go to the wiki and what does the wiki say or whatever. And because this is a new show as it's coming out like day to day, week to week, I want to get my like most unobstructed, I think is the word, thoughts of the season and the show as it's going forward. So yeah, I have this notebook that I'm keeping. Here's some more. Keeping notes on. It's my air freshener. And yeah, so I will be showing pictures of the pages that I talk about, as well as some art that I find on Tumblr of the episodes. And hopefully you'll be able to read my writing. I know sometimes I can't, but that's fine. And yeah, we're gonna get into it. Hi, I'm still figuring out my camera stuff here, but yes. Hi, this is my review thoughts over the 5th episode of the Magnus Protocol, episode 5, personal screening. And this is finally, now I'm finally getting to recording after every episode as they go, and without having to know without knowing what episodes 6, 7, and 8 are going to be for this video. At this point, I have not even started editing the last video for the last 4 episodes. So things that might change in this video won't affect that video. So we'll see. I'm trying to move quickly here. But yes, anyways. So yeah, the Magnus Protocol obviously is a continuation of the Magnus Archives, which is what I've been talking about on the channel for a long time now. In small scales. And so right now I'm just gonna be giving like my thoughts, impressions, quick review of every episode as they go, trying to build a understanding of the show on my own without any sort of outside help, because I think that'd be really fun, and so far it is. Trying to glean my own sort of ideas by myself. Episode 5, personal screening, is CAT 2RB237-1001023-050222024. And so 2RB is disappearance, parentheses undetermined. And 2377 is invitation, the cross-reference. The date of event happened the 10th of January, 2023, and this was cataloged. That's the word, cataloged. Jesus Christ. February 5th, 2024. This was written by Jamie Petranis and Alexander J. Newell. I figure that Jamie Petranis wrote the bulk of the statement, while Alexander Newell wrote like the plot prior stuff that is important to the overall story, which makes sense, and I kind of like that. That they're like including people to write their own sort of statements, and then having someone who knows about the story fit within the story. So that's really nice of them. This aired February 8th, 2024, so 2 days ago now. I listened to it yesterday, so applause for me. Applause for me. I'm also not working today, so I'm able to do this. We'll see if I can continue this. My to remember statement. Sam asks about Colin, and Voyeur must be seen. The possible entity here is the I want to say. I wanted to say also the lonely, especially because of the disappearance. But the more I watched, it more seemed more like the I in here. But this episode feels less like it's connected to a central Smirks 14 fears. Until I know otherwise, But yeah. So, to begin, scene 1, we have Sam going in to talk to Lena about Colin, who's been, acting paranoid and avoiding cameras. He said he's been, pulling, wires to, remove stuff. Sam thinks it's stress, and he's he needs professional help, and Lena's she doesn't say this, but she's I'll take it into consideration, which is the thing that managers say when they say, okay, thanks, not gonna do anything about it. And she basically just ignores his worry, and she's next time, make an appointment, please. So, scene 2, Sam arrives late, and Alice is just annoying him. At this point, for me, Alice was just getting more and more annoying, and I was like, can you please take things more seriously? But that is her character, which is not bad writing. It is just her character being annoying. But it's in an endearing way, in a way. It's you can tell she's being annoying because she does not like her job, and she's trying to make a good thing out of something bad or boring. And so, it's I give her some leeway for that. This part's a little confusing for me. Alice says she found this paper that was for Sam about his response department 121, which was mentioned in episode 1 when he was looking at his papers for filling out cataloging the statements that he reads. There's a box that says response 121 that's already ticked, and he asks her in the first episode, and Alice responds, it used to be a separate response division, but not anymore. And that in this episode, then she's saying it looks like it's dead paperwork. It's just some robot automatically spitting this out, not being updated because there's lack of money here, so there's no one to update the robot and be like, hey, stop printing all of that. I need to shave. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so Sam is I'm gonna try to fill this out anyways because let's see what happens. And it sounds like a bunch of stacks, and Alice is you're wasting your time. He's I'm wasting my time. Get off my back. And there's a moment where he's they want my last 7 addresses, which to me, I want to say that was supposed to be a clue of something. I can't really tell. It was kind of funny. And so Alice is you're going to get behind your on your workload, and I'm not going to be able to help you. And he says, fine. And so he plays the next statement. You hear beeping from the computer to be hey, there's something you need to do. And it's Chester/John reading out the statement, and it's a blog post from Tom's Terror. The blog, I looked it up, it's not real, just in case. You never know with people like this. But yeah, it's not real. At least they didn't create something ever since I saw that Inkfibol had an Instagram post, I was I need to check every single website here just in case. So it's a blog post about horror movies, and the guy posted something, and then I didn't even do the math, but it was in 2009, and it's 2023 at this point now. So many years later, he comes back and he's wow, I haven't come back to this in a while. I'm gonna bring this blog back up. Wait, get up. So yeah, he's just gonna be talking about movies because he loves horror movies, and he talks about a little bit of his past and stuff like that, about his father. He talks a lot about his father, but it's my thing with this statement is that when it was talking about his father, it was definitely stuff like, oh yeah, my father used to do this, used to do that, but it wasn't any sort of reverence or with like explicit love. It was like, yeah, my father made me watch this movie when I was a horror movie when I was younger, and he shouldn't have shown me that movie when I was younger, but oh well. He had that kind of humor or whatever, and it wasn't anything that I would be like, oh, I should think about the father as we keep going on. It was just the way it was treated. It was just, yeah, the story of what happened past. Like many times in different statements in Magnus Archives and in Magnus Protocol in and of itself, there's mentions of like a mother or father and stuff like that, and they don't tend to be like important to the story of like, my father used to have cancer, or my mother used to go to this grocery store, blah, 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 you know? And so that's what it felt to me, like to me, when he started talking about his father, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But as we keep moving, there are 3 blog posts that have been deleted that are reviews of Fire in the Sky. I believe that's the Alien one. I don't recognize the movie Sweet Home and Puppet Master 4, which I do recognize. Those blog posts have been deleted. Those are his reviews of those. And so, you know, as you're going on, you're reading these posts, and you can tell that some of them are being like selected and some of them being deleted. The deleted ones are not important, but also it kind of shows that something happened to him, because all of the important blog posts are there, and the ones that are not important to whatever the fuck happened to him are gone. And that's a little creepy to me. That is the most creepiest part, is that knowing what happens later, they deleted those blog posts. So, in one of his blog posts, he's like asking for like recommendations, and one person, what was the name of it? Someone recommended the movie Voyeur, which he couldn't find. I think it was, he was like, he couldn't find any horror movies that were named that, made in 2009. So apparently, I guess they said it was made in 2009. And, since 2009 at least. And he couldn't find anything. The only thing he could find was a short review, that said, he says is the shortest review I've ever seen, which, like, I guess he didn't go on Letterboxd, because I've seen some short-ass reviews there. The review says, Voyeur needs to be seen to be believed, the scariest movie I have ever seen. Which, like, Magnus Archives likes to do this thing. Magnus Protocol and Magnus Archives likes to do this thing where they say, like, a line that's supposed to be kind of creepy. This is kind of not as successful, you know? Like, things people say to each other that are a little, like, ooh, you know? Like, off the top, I can think of Georgie saying, the moment that you die will feel exactly as you do now, or something along those lines. Or even in taking notes, the blood to fuel the violin need not be your own. That's also an incorrect line there, but yeah. So that's what this line's supposed to make me understand and feel about it. It's not that successful for me, but I digress. In a blog post, in a different blog post, he gets a link from an account named Cinephobial2220, which sends a link to a contest for a screening of the movie Voyeur, and it looks like it was like a website that has not been used in a while, but they started to do this contest, and he's like, I mean, it looks like they haven't been used for a while, but I'm still gonna like join it just in case. And that he only had to put his name in too, and you know, what the heck, let's just do this type deal. After that, we see there's a blog post about Faith the Unholy Trinity video game that was deleted as well. And then he says, hey guys, I won the contest. I got a letter in a black envelope. I didn't even give them my address, which, you know, when I was listening, I was not paying attention to that. So I was like, oh yeah, they just sent him that. He said maybe they used my IP or something to like send me the address, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I don't know anything about internet. And it's a movie screening at an old theater that he used to go to, and now he talks again about his father used to take him there and stuff like that. And he also says he figured out a way to live blog with text-to-speech, which I don't know if the technology's there perfectly for how good it came out. But, it is what it is. He also talked about, like, getting ready. He got on a lift. He also got talking about getting ready to go there. And he was like, I don't want to be Babadooked, and how he got dressed up for Babadook, and it was not as good as he expected it to be. Which I'm like, I haven't watched Babadook, but I've heard a lot of good things. I've not heard anything like that. So, like, what's his name? Jamie, what do you have against Babadook? But anyways, he gets there, and the place is filthy and dirty and, like, trashed. And there's only, like, one old guy working who's selling tickets, who's selling popcorn, and who is ushering as well. And he's like, I only bought this popcorn and snacks because the guy was kind of pushy about it, and I didn't want to be rude because there's only one guy working, and there was no one else there to watch it either way. Which I'm like, if you arrive at a private at a screening that you did not know was private, and no one was there, and the place is trashed, you're being pranked, bro. Which, if only it was a prank. But whatever. And he goes into the movie, and it's kind of slow to start. There's like 2 times where he's like, oh, it's about to begin. It's been a minute, it hasn't begun. It hasn't started. And then the movie starts, and he first hears like the sounds of like a hospital room. And then a video, and he's like, it looks like it's a camcorder, and is that he says, my mom made this video for my father, my brothers after the accident. So, what I'm drawing from that is that his father, which he talked a lot about his father, got hurt and probably died from an accident. I believe it was not his fault, the accident, because we didn't really get anything about that. But the implication might be there because of the eye stuff. So it is a hospital room of his dying father, which would be, I mean, if he's trying to hide something, I would understand it being the eye and stuff like that. And then he's like, wait, who is that in the corner? And then that's the end of that blog post. And then the next blog post is a review of Voyeur, which is verbatim, Voyeur needs to be seen to be believed, the scariest movie I have ever seen. And then that's the last of the blog post, which he got replaced. He disappeared. Someone is now the eye put in that review now, and that's it. And it's a evil eye movie that consumes you and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Some things I did like were that when he was live blogging and he would say stuff that was hard to pick up, it would say unintelligible, and it would switch from John/Chester's voice, like humanoid voice, to the robotic unlegible type deal. I can't replicate it, but it happened a few times, and when it first happened, it didn't scare me. It was definitely like, ooh, what was that? What did he say? And then I looked back, and he's like, probably said like fucking or something like that. And yeah, that was that statement. And then in scene 3, we hear Alice talking to Luke again on her phone, and basically saying the same thing as before, is like, you're gonna have to wait until I get paid next week, and that you can't keep asking eventually, but I will do it. I'll do it for now, but you gotta start, getting information, bruh. And the way that she speaks here is really interesting, because it sounds almost like she's crying or trying to restrain herself. And it was really interesting. And she's trying to be too happy. It was, I want to say, it was kind of unsettling the way she was talking to him. Like she was tired. Which, hearing that voice from Alice, who's always been this, not ray of sunshine, but, it was unsettling. And then Gwen scares her. She appears and she's like, "You done?" And I was like, "Jesus Christ, you scared me." And Gwen asks her, "Do you remember the former IT guy, the guy before Colin?" And Alice mentions, I forget her name. It was a woman's name, and she's like, "No, before him. It was a German guy with tattoos." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, he was here before I got here, but I don't remember or whatever." And Gwen was like, "Okay," and then leaves. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what's up with people today? And that was the end of it. That was the end of the episode. So yeah, I think it's the eye. I think the statement textually, as I was reading the transcript after I listened to it, textually, it had less than like the performance of it. That's all I kind of really have to say. The emotion and was used a lot there to convey more than just text. And it'll just be, like I said, I think it's the eye because, he's into his past. They got his address without him putting it in, type deal. Lita seems to be supporting Colin, or at least backing or trying to, like, the way that she says it, it's more like, not that she's trying to cover for him, but it's definitely something along those lines. Luke wants to get more money, so that's definitely going to come back sometime. I don't know what that's about. That's going to do something. And Gwen is probably doing stuff connected to the audio that she got. She's probably trying to like find where they came from. If she's trying to find an IT guy that's not Colin, it's probably to try to be like a Tessa Winter situation. Like, hey, can you do some internet stuff and try to track down where this came from, or something like that. And the response 1-to-1, I don't know what that means yet. That seems to be something alluding to something. I don't understand it, but I will get there eventually. So yeah, that was episode 5. Overall, I honestly think it was pretty weak. It was really short. It felt really short. The statement didn't have anything to do with like anything elsewhere. Like, didn't even talk about the statement or whatever, which normally it would try to at least mention it. And the plot stuff is definitely leading into stuff. Considering how quickly it's moving compared to like the Magnus archives, I know that eventually it's gonna get to something, but I don't know when it's gonna get to that, especially because how long it took in Magnus archive to get there. So I'm worried that they're gonna keep dragging stuff out. But I have to see. I can't like put all these like expectations now without like fully like knowing. But I will keep listening as I go on. So yeah, I will see you guys back for episode 6. Say bye, Walachi. Hi, so I learned a handful of things. No more fan and no more on the bed, because also that was hurting my back. We're back on my desk, but we're doing not as involved camera setup. Yay! So, episode 6, introductions. I guess between episode 5 and episode 6, sort of like, yeah, I'll do this thing where like between each episode I'll talk about like what I think about the last episode. Episode 5, it was fine, not an amazing episode. It felt like a filler episode, but the horror was there and it was well made technically, and so yeah, I no, like I said that prior, that I'm trying to keep my opinions and thoughts like divorced from the fandom, and doesn't mean I'm still gonna be. It does not mean that I'm not seeing anything. Going back to I mostly see stuff on like Tumblr. Mostly Tumblr, right? Yeah, about the Magnus Protocol, and people were like not really like enjoying episode 5. And I think that it's fine. It's not that like big, amazing episode, but it's a good episode, fine episode. And knowing what episode 6 happens, I think it was a good thing that we needed. Episode 6, introductions. The catalog index CAT1RB 4824- 09022-024-1202224. And so 1RB is injury, parentheses needles, and 4824 is intimidation. I also want to note that we did see a 2RB, which is disappearance, parentheses undetermined, last episode. There's another one, what was it? Sorry. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that 1RB and 2RB we're definitely like, that's nice to each other, but what does it mean? Especially because disappearance and injury are like separate. That is if what I'm saying these signify is correct, which I don't know. But from what I can tell, at least, that those two are close together. And also, episode 4 taking notes was 3C, and episode 3 putting down roots was 2C. So yeah, it's definitely very arbitrary. And I will keep going with that idea until proven wrong further in the future. And so the event of this statement occurred February 9th, 2024, and it was cataloged February 12th, 2024, and that is 3 days prior to when Sam cataloged it. And considering everything else prior has been within the year or more, looking at taking notes, something that was 3 days prior is definitely going to be pertinent coming up soon. And I can't wait to see that. This story was written by Jonathan Sims. Makes sense. It felt more akin to everything that has happened in the past in terms of Magnus Archives. It felt the most Magnus Archive-y of the Magnus Protocol, in terms of like the horror and the syntax of it, the diction, the way that everything was like laid out and spoken about felt familiar. And the past statements in Magnus Protocol didn't feel unfamiliar, but it was definitely like, this is new, versus, oh yeah, this is Jonathan Sims flexing his muscles type deal. And he also wrote the first episode, something like that. And yeah, so he's back. I do 100% want to see more writers here. I think getting more writers, different writers, gives a different feel, and I think I would enjoy that a lot. In the beginning, like I said in my my season 5 retrospective, that having one singular author helped streamline everything, but that was for the beginning of it, the end of it. But for the beginning of here, having multiple different writers, especially for these types of statements that aren't statements, but like, I call them statements, but it's not statements. I don't know what to call them. Statements. It feels good, and I like it. This aired February 15th, 2024. My to remember statement is Needle Hugs Celia in. And the possible entity for this is the Desolation. And so in scene 1, we see Sam is like tired, and Alice is singing him a lullaby. And like, I said it before, Alice is getting a little annoying, and that's her character, and that's fine. It's just a little annoying. But it is how she is, and I think that many people write many annoying characters because of their different reasons, and I know eventually Alice will get better, or at least it makes more sense. When Alice is talking, so I have written down, Alice's night shift talk is analogous to Rainer and Dominguez Dark. What that means is the way that Alice talks about the nighttime and how, working the night shift and everything like that. The words and phrases that she uses sounds very similar to the words and phrases that Maxwell Rainer and Manuel Dominguez use when they're talking about the dark. And so Alice and Sam are talking. Gwen's there also. I don't have her written down in my notes. And they say they get a new hire. Lena hires multiple people at the same time in case some of them leave, for more of a chance to catch as many as they can to like stay and have that like wiggle room for people to leave if they don't like it here. Especially because of how like heavy everything is here. And Sam begins a recording of a 911 call. 999 call, actually, because this is not America, this is the UK, so they're 999, not 911. And the first operator is a woman who speaks with needles, who I have added onto the character in statements. Needles, covered in, called 911 to mess with the victim. Get there. He's a possible avatar of the distillation, and his voice actor is Harry Roebuck. Now that I'm here, I might as well just say as well, the two operators and the police officer, they're not named, but they're three distinct voice actors. The first one, a woman, was Hattie Quinlan. The second operator, who only had like 2 lines, was Tom Park. And the police officer at the end is Joe Bentz. And so the first operator speaks with needles, who's with a victim, who at first to me it felt like he was toying with the victim that was covered in needles, in terms of like, oh my god, are you in pain? Let me call someone to help. And he's like, he's talking like a game show, and he's like, let's see, which one shall I do? Door A or door B type thing. The victim is covered in needles. He hangs up with the operator and then calls again. It's a second operator. He's fucking oblivious, does not know what's happening. Transfer him to police, and the victim, turns out, had tried to rob a mug needles, and then he got hugged and stabbed in the entire body. But like, listen, I'm saying, if you're going out to mug someone, which hopefully you're not, but if you are for whatever reason, and you see someone in an alleyway and they're covered in needles, I'd say run the other way and mug someone else. Obviously that's an oversimplification of things that might have happened, but whatever. And so Needles was talking about how he enjoys the fear that's coming from the victim in terms of the pain. He doesn't like pain itself. He said he's tried masochism and sadism, and that didn't do anything, but the fear of it really helps. It was really interesting to him, whatever. He feeds by it. And somehow, through like talking with the policeman, who gets he starts pretty oblivious, but then gets like starting to like catch on a bit. He weasels out that the policeman is in the Lambeth Center, and intimidates and makes him afraid, because the police officer's like, I mean, I'm not afraid, it's just needles, right? He's like, it's not just a needle, it's a bunch of different things that, I forget exactly what he says, but it's a million tiny little hurts all to get there, etc., etc. And he's like, I can remember your voice. And the police officer's like, are you just calling to brag or something? And Needles is like, no, I wanted to get a dessert of fear or something like that, like a last little helping, because I guess he got full fed by the victim, and he just wants to get a little bit more. And so eventually he successfully makes the policeman afraid, and he ends the call with the promise of speaking again, that he can remember his voice, which is terrifying, obviously. In scene 3, Sam's kind of disappointed that there isn't more, and Gwen and Alice weren't really paying attention. They're like, yeah, that usually tends to happen. I think someone said that, like, if you're lucky, you might get the coroner's report, but that's rare. Lena comes in and introduces Celia, who is a new hire. And we'll talk about Celia in a bit. She arrives eating little donuts because Lena put out little donuts things. I do want to delve into a little bit of what I've seen from the fandom. People are talking about how Lena has something with food. I don't know what that means. How like every time Sam got here or whatever, she's put out food and she's always said, eat it on the premise or whatever. Yeah, I guess now I know that, and so unfortunately I can't unknow that. But that's something to note, at least, that I've heard from the fandom. And so once Lena leaves, Celia is talking with Sam, because Sam's also the new person there, and she was like, "Was the interview like?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was a little weird." And she's like, "Yeah, it was just a little weird." And I'm like, "Oh my god, it was weird." And so Alice is like, "You're lucky." Lena tries to talk you out of it if she thinks you're worth talking to in the first place, which is basically like, If she tries to like talk you out of it, it's like you have some merit to you, and she's trying to make sure you're not stuck there with us, etc., etc. And then Alice has to give her a tour or like training and stuff like that. In scene 3, in the break room again, not the bathroom, Alice finishes up a tour with Celia, and Sam's maybe a little flirty with her, being like, "Oh my god, do you want some biscuits that? Do you want some biscuits from Alice's hidden stash?" Which is it biscuit in the British sense, like a cookie? That makes sense, right? And then the episode ends. And so, obviously, notes. Obviously, this is the first Avatar we're actually seeing, at least someone who courts the fears and uses their power. That is, if we are following Smirks 14, which at the moment we still are. Of Smirks 14, Desolation fits right here because of the fear of pain. Desolation is a fear of pain, of loss, of fire, of just pain in general. And so that fits pretty well here. There hasn't been, in the Magnus Archives proper, there wasn't anything concerning needles in any of the statements, so it's a really interesting aspect to delve into here. I do have to state that the voice acting of Harry Roebuck, I'm sorry, yeah, Harry Roblox, feels very similar to Michael Distortion's, but not trying to imitate it. It's really easy to make someone who's a little unhinged and unstable horrifying. And the way that some avatars in Magnus Archives proper talk about their fear and their usage of it, sometimes without knowing that it's something specific, that really matches up in a way. Which is another reason why it sort of feels very similar, very familiar, because Jonathan Sims wrote this. Whether we will be seeing Mr. Harry Roblox come back for needles in the future, threatening the team, I'd like to see it. I do not want to. I fear for them. It's a man covered in needles. How are you going to deal with that? I like to see it though. I don't want them. I don't want anyone to die. But he's having a little fun, so he might be coming back. He sounds like he's gonna come back. I mean, if this happened 3 days prior, of course he's gonna come back, right? And now onto so this episode's really good because we get first Avatar, and now we get Celia Ripley. Now, Celia Ripley, I have added onto the characters outside of come on, the statements in the OIAR team and outside. Celia Ripley, who's voice acted by Laurie Ann Davies, who is a frequent collaborator. Not even a frequent collaborator. She works for Rusty Quill a lot. She does a lot of vocal edits, sound edits, I believe. She's a little chipper. She's a little bubbly. And she might be the Celia from the OG Magnus Archives. So, Laurie Ann Davis, of course, voiced a woman named Lynn Hammond, later became Celia. She first appeared in the Magnus Archives episode 100. I guess you had to be there. It was the special 100 episode, which is smack dab in the middle of the entire show. And John is not there. And Martin, Basira, Tim, and Melanie had to deal with 4 people who came in wanting to give statements of something they saw. One of them, Lynn Hammond, speaking with Martin, she's like, not giving anything. She's not serving. She's not doing any. She's like, yeah, I saw this like ghost. And he's like, okay, and she's like, hey, she was on fire, and she was just not giving anything. It was really funny for that episode because every single person was like different. Right, Lynn was not giving anything. It was Tim's guy, who his friend was taken by the buried, was conspiracy theory guy. Basira's Robin, Lennox, got lost in the spiral and then left because was late for lunch. He was walking his dog, and he kept going on tangents. And then Melanies was a guy who kept seeing the same spider that he killed or something like that. Was it the same spider he killed? He kept seeing something. He kept seeing something about spiders, and he was too hysterical to give something sensible. And yeah, so that episode was really fun. And Lynn Hammond is there, and she saw a desolation ghost. And at the end of it, she's like, "Okay, is that it? I mean, are you gonna pay me now?" And Martin is like, "What? And she's like, "Oh, I thought you gave like money to people for statement." He's like, "No, it's a volunteer actually," and he gives her some money for like, I think it was like a cab or like coffee or something like that. And then 90 episodes later, her second appearance is in 190 Scavengers, when John and Martin find themselves in the tunnels with Melanie and Georgie's cult. There's a woman there who calls herself Celia. And when she introduces herself, Martin's like, oh, you're Celia? And she's like, yeah, the place where I was trapped in, they took my name, and so now I use Celia instead. I like Celia. And he's like, okay. And then the next episode, 191, What We Lose, we learn that Martin recognized her as Lynn Hammond, and he didn't remember her name, but she came to the Institute to give a statement, and he gave her money. And so Lynn Hammond is Celia. We never got a last name for the Celia during the change, during the apocalypse. But she was all voiced by Lorianne Davis. And okay. I was going to say, Jonathan Sims is not the kind of person to write two characters with the same names. And then I remembered the entirety of the Magnus archives. So, yeah, this, it just feels more deliberate, like Michael Distortion, Michael Crew, Michaela Salesa, that feels more like the roughing out the buff parts of, is that the term? That feels more accidental than like trying to do something. This, you have to know that your fan base is like looking out for every single thing in your stories. And so obviously Celia being the same name and same voice actress as Celia that appeared in the Magnus archives, that has to mean something. And if it doesn't mean something, he's messing with us. And John Sims, when I get you, John Sims, when I get you. And I'm going to keep an eye on her because I know she's going to do something. Yes. And I'm really excited for when that happens. And yeah, that was episode 6. Pretty good episode. Avatar of the Desolation, and an interesting person now to keep track of, and seeing where that goes. And we haven't got anything yet about Starkwell or Klaus from episode 4. So still keep an eye on that. Still keeping an eye on whatever is up with Alice's brother Luke and the money that he needs. Seeing if that pans out to anything. And yeah. I will be seeing you guys for episode 7. Okay, it is 9 p.m. I just got off of work a while ago. I am tired. I listened to episode 7 of the Magnus Protocol yesterday, which I was finally able to do, like, maybe 30 minutes after it came out. And I am so ready to talk about it. It's been a day since I listened to it. It is such a good episode. I am sick. I have so much allergies from the pollen outside. It is raining. I am tired. Let's get into it, shall we? Episode 7, Give and Take. Oh my god. It is such a good episode. I have 5 pages of notes. Considering the last few episodes, I've had 2-page notes.
The longest so far before that was episode 2. I had 3 pages of notes, and episode 1 I had 4. Wow. So congratulations to episode 7, Give and Take, for being such a big episode for me. Considering also that there is less scenes here than it is prior in those last 2 episodes that I mentioned. There's a lot to cover here. So, Give and Take, the code is CAT2RC3338 0302216-120220024. And I wrote down that 2RC means agglomeration, parentheses and miscellany. However, in the first episode, the first shift, the code that Alice reads out to Sam, teaching him how to code statements, which is the dolls, watching one, which we didn't hear, the contents of it. The code there is 2RC as well. And so I don't know, like, if there is a rhyme and reason as to the first, like, coding numbers in the system. I might just be missing what it is. If someone has cracked it, please let me know. But I just do not know what they mean. And since these are repeating codes, at least before the DPHW, and it's different classifications, then I'm still gonna mark it down as what they mean, just to keep track, up until the moment that we finally get, like, what does all of these letters mean and stuff like that. So the DPHW of 3338 is congregation. You'll see in my notes I forgot to write the date right after that, so it's on the bottom, but whatever. The event of this, the email actually happened February 3rd, 2016, and this was cataloged February 12th, 2024. The author was Alexander J. Newell, another one, and he writes really well, like, considering the ones, because he wrote ¿cómo se llama? Putting Down Roots. He also, I think he co-wrote Making Adjustments, I forget, but he fully wrote Putting Down Roots, and that one was really good writing. I just want to point out that in Putting Down Roots and in this one, there is horror within listing of objects or listing of stuff. Because in Putting Down Roots, the doctor... What's his name again? Samuel? Let's go with Samuel. Samuel Weber, yeah. Listed out, like, things that were wrong with him in terms of sickness and stuff. And this one, the listing out of the objects, which I will read out because I enjoyed them. I'm getting ahead of myself, actually. But yeah, Alexander Newell, great writer. I want to check, I don't think I will, but I want to check to see if he contributed heavily to any of these statements or any episodes in the OG Magnus archive. But if not, then great. He's getting his due respect. Is that the word? Good right. This aired February 22nd, 2024. It is February 23rd, 2024. Yeah! I did good. My to remember statement is actually, I don't feel it's very successful, but it's Celia knows too much stuff. Gwen learns. I think at one point I'm just going to stop doing the to remember stuff because writing the notes down is helping me remember pretty well anyway, so I don't need that. And the possible entity. It's really hard for me to pin it down. Right now I have 3 suspects. The stranger, the buried, the extinction, which I will discuss why at the end after I recap. In scene 1, we have Alice teaching Celia how to catalog. Celia mentions, oh yeah, this feels pretty normal. At least you're not struggling with tape recorders. And manila folders. Manila folders, I can, like, Celia, when I get you, Celia, when I get you, you will tell me everything that you know, because I know that she knows. I am not insane about this. I'm not. I know that she knows. Okay, so she mentions tape recorders. Wink, wink. She mentions that she's talking with Alice, and she's like, so obviously you're reading these statements because they feel, quote. I kicked my desk and it messed it up. Anyways, she asks, like, so these cases that you read, they are a little, quote, off. And Alice's like, yeah, more or less. She asks if the spoken cases have anything in common. And then asks if we can look up files. My writing, I'm going to change it right now. It looks like it says cook up, but it's look up. Straighter. I can't really write that straight because, writing quickly. And yes, she asks if she can look up files, and mentions, like, can you look up, like, being buried alive or meat? And which, hello. And when Alice is sort of, like, asking, like, why are you asking about this or whatever, she, like, deflects her inquiry with, like, a Bigfoot joke, which it's very deliberate and very smart. Knowing Alice, like, that's a great way to, like, diverge her. And then a recording starts. It's Chester/John, who reads an email from a Diane Margolis, BA Ons JP, to Oxford People's Trust. Oxford People's Trust does not exist in the real world. I tried looking it up. Most of the things I look up are a quick Google search as I'm doing these notes. So if somewhere the things that I look up are actually, like, true or false or whatever, and I'm disproven, it's because I did a quick search and that's all she wrote. I also, because I wanted to know, Diane Margolis, BA, bachelor's, I think, parentheses, Hans, I believe it's honors, whatever, honors, it's some UK sort of designation of people, and JP, the only thing I could find was Justice of the Peace, which I don't know what that means, and it looked like it was, like, like I said, I looked it up really quickly, so I'm like, okay, it's a honor given by the Queen or something. I don't know, by the royal, whoever's currently reigning royally. So if you know what JP, if JP actually means Justice of the Peace, then fine, I guess. One criticism of this statement is that I don't really, like, not so much criticism, bad writing in terms of just making it clear to the reader. I don't know what the Oxford People's Trust is supposed to refer to. As far as I can tell, it is some form of, like I thought it was like a goodwill or something, but like a people's trust, like a trust, like a bank trust, like money stuff, or is that different in the UK? I don't know, and so, like, as I was, like, listening to it, trying to understand what the setting was, it was kind of hard to like put into, like, my American mind. So there's a little bit of points deducted for that from me, but still pretty good. But yes, so Diane is messaging the HR, Human Resources Department of the Oxford People's Trust, OPT. She's messaging her resignation. She says she wants to get paid and she will not work the notice period, which I assume is like the 2-week notice that you're leaving or whatever. She's like, I'm not going to work that. None of you have supported me. I have attached a record of what occurred over the last 6 months. And so, yeah, this is the record. So that's the email, and then there's like an attachment. And I assume the attachment's like a document that's been added to the email or whatever, but yeah. And so in the attachment in of itself, which is I count as the bulk of the statement, she says she is a victim of neglect. after succeeding the former manager of the. Oh, did I write that down? I did not write that down. Of the Hilltop Road. Nope. Hilltop Center. Did I not write that down? That is a breach of what I should. I'm going to write it down right now. So if you see it on the paper, it's because it is written down. Because Hilltop Center? Hello? I didn't even mention it. Hold on. Actually, let me pause for a second and update some of my notes because I forgot about the Hilltop stuff. Okay, I did my updates. I honestly thought it was going to be more than that, but nope. Anyways, where was I? She became the manager of the Hilltop Road. It's not Hilltop Road, it's Hilltop Center branch of Oxford People Trust. So that tells me that the Oxford People Trust is some company, and the branch, the building that is in the Hilltop Center, whether Hilltop Center is the location or the name of the building, the center, for Hilltop, the jurisdiction, the building, or the neighborhood, or whatever it is, it's like a branch of it. And that was 17th of August, 2025. 2015. Oh my god, I'm getting ahead of myself. And she says that the line manager, Mr. C. Clayton, is incompetent. She starts working the 8th of November 2015. So I'm going to go ahead and add Mr. C. Clayton and Diane Margolis into the characters in statements section, which I forgot that I'm updating this as I go. So when I'm editing this, I will take a picture, and all eight of the statements characters will be there. So it's whatever. It's whatever. It's fine. It's fine. So she says that Mr. C. Clayton, her line manager, was so incompetent. No assistants were hired because she was the assistant to the former manager. When he died, she became the manager, but there was no one there to help her. So she set out on her. She outsourced for volunteers. She cannot remember the name of the first man that she hired, who had no experience in charity or retail, which when it was listed charity, driver's license, retail. And so my thought is, okay, so the first thing is this is a charity place, because you're talking about like donations and stuff, so it's like a goodwill of some form. But yes, the man that she hired, that she does not remember the name of, on 13th of November, had no experience in charity, had no experience in retail, and also had no driver's license. Which, if you don't have a driver's license, how are you gonna drink? At least I work at a wine store right now, and if you do not have a driver's license, I am not serving you. So what are you doing? You know. Obviously, the volunteers that she cannot remember the names, are not real people. I don't know what to make out of that. So she also tried reaching out to Clayton, but got dismissed. There's multiple times where she's talking about him, and he says, just chill. So the first man donates a large false plant in a ceramic pot modeled on a shouting human face on the 14th of November when he starts, which is... Like, there's like a lot of times in the Magnus Archives and the Magnus Protocol, there's moments in the beginnings of the episodes where they mention just some one-off thing that is just a little too, like, little pushed into, like, the horror section. And I'm like, okay, large false plant, sure, fine, that's normal. Modeled in a shouting human face, okay, this is a horror. You know, this is the promise. You know, this is promise of the horror. And I have it noted in the transcript, and I noticed it when I was listening to the episode. I had the transcript pulled up at the same time, so I was like, let me see if I gain anything more as I'm reading it, as I'm listening to it at the same time. and I liked it. It was really fun. And there's a section, there's a cue that says the music starts to swell, and I will mention it. I will mention when the music stops, but I do want to mention that the music throughout the statement, as it keeps building and building, the music keeps building and building, and it's a very Ooh, you can feel like the intensity of things increasing, and when the music stops, which I'll let you know when that happens, it is so effective into like you don't realize that that was happening. Like if I hadn't read that part, I think that's why I should not read the transcripts, because when I read that part, when I read the music starts to swell here, I started paying attention to music. But when if I was not paying attention to that, I would just hear it as I am doing whatever, and I would have heard the music and just incorporated it into the background noise up until the moment that the music stopped, and then I would have been like, "Whoa, there was music," and I was not paying attention to it. That's really smart, sort of like sound design that I got spoiled by, or like shown to by the transcript. But that's whatever. It's really good for that. So the first man, I will be calling them first man, second woman, recommends the second woman for work. Also, this was the 26th of November. She also cannot, Diane Margolis also cannot remember the second woman's name. And she had the same sort of credentials in terms of lack thereof credentials, and also like it also mentioned that both of them were like really passionate and stuff, and they keep repeating it's all for a good cause, which they repeat a lot throughout the statement. The volunteers. I didn't write down every single instance of it, but it's there. It's a lot. I looked it up. They mention it at least 4 times. So, that sort of like horror line, I wrote it down here that Clayton is in sabbatical, and a little later it's revealed that he's in the Seychelles. But that's the last time I'm going to mention Clayton, so might as well write it down here that he's taking a vacation. And that's why he's not responding to our emails. And that is the true horror of this statement, that your coworkers do not respond to your emails how you want them to. I hope this email finds you in a bad position or whatever. Yeah. The second woman, I forgot, did I say that? Yeah, the second woman donated a large bearskin rug. And Diane had the rug stored in the back because the teeth were too sharp. The third and fourth volunteers were recommended by the second woman on the 28th of November. And they both gave a large chandelier of dark glass and an oversized gramophone with religious songs, like a selection of religious songs. And then they recommend 4 other volunteers on the 30th of November, who give a crudely carved rocking horse, a grandfather clock leaking dark oil, a heavily vandalized set of Encyclopedia Britannica, and an abstract canvas artworks, plural. And finally, on the 1st of December, the new hired volunteers open the store without the keys, and Diane is trying to she wants to find out how they got a set of keys when they didn't have one in the first place. And she tries to find them, but she can't find them because there's just a bunch of stuff donated in the store. And listed out are 2 large soiled crinoline dresses, a chaise lounge with stuffed with coarse sand, taxidermy vulture, a rusty antique printing press, and recently used medical equipment. She finds the large group of volunteers, and they're just laughing. And she finds the first man that she hired, and she tells them they have to leave, and they don't listen to her. They just keep laughing, and they keep bringing in items. She tries to go to the landline to try to call for help or whatever, but there's too many things there that are in her way. There is a leather kite, oddly curved brass telescope, a wheelbarrow of shifting fossils, an armlord of swords, and rope. Just rope. There's a lot of rope. She also mentions like bumping into, and like there's things begin to move, shelves begin to break, and things begin to get crushed. And she notes a tin bathtub filled with moldy food, old dental retainers, a brace of half butchered pheasants, like the birds, jars of pickled hands. Okay. And she could not see the exit as volunteers began pushing amongst each other. You'll see that in my pictures, I have them noted by stars, and we'll talk about that later. I just want to mention that, just in case you did see that. And eventually, she gets crushed by an ancient diving suit filled with sawdust. Her neck is hit by a broken picnic hamper. There is bloody china, like china stained with blood or something like that. Yeah, blood-stained china underneath her feet. And her mouth is filled with copper imperial coins that fall from like a jar from above. And the like all throughout this, it's like she is trying to get there. She's just being crushed by all these things. And that's when she says, that's when the gunshots started and the music stops. And so you can, like, with that music cue, or the end of the music cue, it's very much like from the very beginning, the music begins to build and build as the story is building to building. And if you were just listening to it without the transcript, like I was not, it'd be very easy for you to incorporate the music increasing as you're listening, subconsciously not paying attention to it, but feeling the increase and swell of the music, making you feel more and more, for lack of a better word, claustrophobic, more intense. And the moment that the gunshot starts and the music cuts, you realize that you were not paying attention to the music, but you were feeling the music. And that's a very effective way to deliver terror using two different mediums. And I like that a lot. That I think that is so smart. And you know, we've seen it. I've seen it before in the Magnus archives proper, where the music is like building and then it suddenly stops or slows down or whatever. But this feels, the music sounded like different, more. I want to say something like scratching. It felt like weird scratching sound, and that was really fun and really imaginative. But yes, the gunshots stop. She hears the laughing doesn't stop, but eventually it gets drowned out by like sounds of fire. She managed to like get out. There's like a path under the stars, and she's able to go outside. And a heavy-set man in dark clothing like pushes her down, holds a gun to her, and demands her to identify herself. And when I think she just like cries, which like we'll talk a little bit about that. When she cries, the security man takes her away. Hilltop Center is burning. And so when he asked to identify her with a gun, she screamed, she cried, sobs of terror, or whatever. She says this somehow seemed to satisfy him. And to me, it's very much like, okay, if you know about Smirks 14, or at least weird horror entities, if they're not Smirks 14, then when you encounter someone who is acting rationally afraid and not creepy, like she's screaming and crying, and they're like, yeah, she's normal. Yeah, she's normal. Don't shoot her. She's normal. And they take her away. They save her. They don't like take her away and disappear. But they take her away. They tell her. Well, they told her to not tell anyone. She's not to identify the security firm that like is doing all this. She doesn't even know who hired them, but she knows it's not OPT, because she knows that they suck. That's what it sounds like. And they also told her to regard the fire as an accident. And so she like finished off. She's like, yeah, don't call me, don't talk to me, don't beat me, reach me whenever you want to. I'm not Kim Possible type shit. She also says if you want. She also says in the attachment, if you, she's talking to HR, want to contact or discuss further with the security firm, I gave you contact information, but I advise against it unless it's gonna be Mr. Clayton. I think he deserves to be fully debriefed by them. I also do not like Mr. C. Clayton. But anyways, that's the end of that statement. In scene 3, Celia reacts to Chester. She sort of like, it says here, at least in the transcript, she lets out a breath and then chuckles to herself. And Alice is like, what? And Celia's like, the voice, it was, I thought I recognized it. And Alice is probably like a radio guy that you listened to when you were younger. And Celia's like, yeah. Also, Alice fully disrespects Norris / Martin and says he's a whiny little toad. And does not. She mentions Augustus, but doesn't like say anything about him. And yeah, so Celia, she knows. She knows about Smirks 14. And yeah, I'm going insane. I need to know what happens. In scene 4, I was really prepared for this episode to just be Celia and Alice, and it already was a really good episode. And without Sam, I was kind of sad that we wouldn't get any Sam, but it's fine. We've gotten episodes without Martin, and John. I meant to say John in the first part, but yeah, we've got an episode without Martin a lot. So it's not like unheard of that the main character is not there. But I was like, oh, Sam's not here. That's just, oh well. But then scene 4 happens. Sam knocks on Colin's door. And I was listening to this and I was like, ooh, Sam is now dealing with Colin. So we get pairs now. And I'll spoil a little bit. The next pair to go into are Gwen and Lena. And I'm like, that's so fun that we get the entire cast in pairs. That's so fun. That's so, I don't know. I like it. I like that. Especially because I thought it was just going to be Celia and Alice, which would have been pretty cool anyways. But whatever. He knocks on Colin's door. He says he gets an email from a John. And it's written John, John, which me and I believe the majority of the fandom call him John, Jon. Because that just feels natural. That feels right to us, to the fandom. So as per the transcript, he says he got an email from a John, which is John, not our John, but John. Do you hear that? Do you hear the difference? John, yeah. Whatever. He says that there's a random name and an address, and it looks like it comes from an internal email. And I don't know if that means that the email is like John Sims at OIAR, whatever. I should know the acronym. OIAR.org. OIAR. I did that right. Or whatever. And in it, the body of the email is just like name, address, which, by itself would already be creepy, but because it's from a John, written by a John, not a John, but a John, it, I don't know, I need to know what it says, but either way, Colin says that there isn't anyone named John. There might be someone named John, but not John. And he specifically says if Sam's weirded out by this, he's gonna freak from the real stuff. And Sam's like, what do you mean the real stuff? And he's like, is that why your webcam's taped over? Boom. And Sam pulls out his phone, and Colin's like, do not read the sign, no external electronics. and and Sam's like, but I'm special, because he's a little special boy. And Colin tries to take his phone, and they get into like a little scuffle. He says that it already recorded to, and I assume the last part would have been much, but it cuts off when the phone falls. And finally, in scene 5, Gwen interrupts Lena's call, and she shows Lena the video of Klaus, which we finally get a voice actor in the wiki, who is named Paul Schmidt. And it's the video of Klaus and Lena that we got for taking notes. And it plays the first lines that we heard, and then adds more to it, and it's Klaus tries fighting back, and escapes, and Lena fails to shoot and kill him, and so according to Gwen's singular source, which Lena points out, the people that paid for Klaus's death don't know that he's alive, not dead, not shot by Lena, and she doesn't know who Lena's masters are, but she knows she could get paid for revealing that Lena didn't kill him, and Lena was like, okay, why are you blackmailing me? You don't want money because your family's rich. So we get finally at least to mention that her family, the Bouchards, are still rich, which is what we knew before about Elias, and Gwen wants in. Quotation notation. And Lena is surprised that like Gwen's pushing. She's like, I didn't really expect you to be this way, but I have been needing someone to step up to the real work, whatever that means. And Gwen is now appointed as the new externals liaison, and she is now in. And that's the end of the episode, which I have a full page of notes on. At the very top, the new notes that I added. Hilltop name drop. Hilltop Road is the place that had a break in reality, which is where the fears escaped through at the end of season 5, when John and Martin John was consumed by the eye. John and Martin stabs him, presumably killing him, presumably leading all the fears to flow through him and out into the pit at the center of reality that Annabelle Cain wanted. Annabelle Cain? Yeah, Annabelle Cain. There's so many names. Wanted to happen. Wanted to occur. And so Hilltop is a very important name. John Sims is not the kind of person to repeat place names. He is the kind of person to repeat names, human names. But I know Celia knows she's important. She's Celia from the Magnus. Top of the notes. Oh my god, such a bulky episode full of stuff to talk about. Celia knows, or is remembering. I was also thinking, it's like the way that it could be sort of like she does not really know, but she feels something right. But the way that she like talks about it reads like a secret agent. Like she's there to infiltrate. And she asks, did you hear anything about like being buried alive or meat? Oh, Bigfoot, actually. Ooh, the easy way she talks Alice away from like questioning shows intent, shows that she knows how to talk to people. She knows her mission, and her mission is to what? I don't know, but the show's intent. She mentions being buried alive and meat, which is obvious Smurfs 14 references. Now, whether the Smurfs 14 is actually here or not is still up to debate. However, Celia has knowledge of the Smurfs 14, at least the motifs of such. And so it very much could be that if this is an AU and they're like crossing stuff over, whatever, that they're trying to sniff out if the Smurfs 14 are here or not, etc. And so just her mentioning buried in live meat does not 100% confirm that Smurfs 14 is in this version of the world. It only confirms that Celia knows about them. This statement in of itself, it's hard for me to pin down. Like I said, it was stranger, buried, and extinction. I wrote down my reasons. I'm 50% sure it's stranger, 45% sure it's buried, and 5% sure it's extinction. Confidence levels. And my reason for stranger, people who you can't remember their names, feels very stranger to me. And then some objects are skin related, which is why they have the little asterisk, and some objects don't. But I was gonna say that the objects, the stranger has a fascination with objects, but all of Smark's 14, 15 fears have connection to artifacts. So I cannot say that, but for some reason the stranger just sticks to me because of the calliope and the skin, the gorilla skin, stuff like that. But there's a bunch of artifacts for different fears. So yeah. For me, there's also the buried, only specifically because of the crushed and suffocated by the objects section, which feels more deliberate than, oh no, things just fell and it was just a lot of things. And the extinction, some of these objects are trash or refuse or like forgotten antique stuff to be taken by others. And it feel like the objects feel very much like something you'd find in like Epoch or something like that. And it honestly might be all three, or just stranger and buried, and the stranger's aiding the buried in some form, or the buried, or something. It might even be something else. I can also make a case for the spiral, because she is losing control of everything, is not knowing where everything, and just keeps seeing things pill up and does not understand what's happening or whatever. But yeah, it's really hard to pin this statement down. If there is a connection to Smirks 14. We have yet to figure that out. The security man, I'm going to throw out and guess and say that's connected to Starkwell. Probably something else, but I want to say it's Starkwell because I don't want to throw another organization there into the pile of theories. And we already have Starkwell. We have nothing about Starkwell. And so, yeah, I'm just going to say that most likely the security man is connected to Starkwell in some way, even though it is a military organization. But until it is proven otherwise, I'm just going to make that connection right there. And I think there should have been more description of the heavyset man. What skin color was he with? When I first saw that a man pushed her down or whatever, I immediately was like, Outlaw Decker! Outlaw Decker! It's not. I don't think so. I just want to hear more of Outlaw Decker. Shut up. Should turn that off. But it is probably not him. Probably someone else. Probably better that it's someone else. But either way. Again, what does Sam's email say? I want to know what it says. Colin is paranoid. I mean, something is happening that we haven't seen or heard of. He's obviously understanding that the computers are like off, and he gets a little paranoid, and that's a little fun. Finally, Gwen is trying to blackmail Lena, and Lena knows. Lena totally knows, and now Gwen knows. Whether they know about Smirks 14 or whatever is the manifestation of the fears in this universe, this reality, don't know, but they know something. Like I said, Lena says, I want someone to work on the real work or whatever. And so Gwen will eventually know. And it feels very right that Gwendolyn Bouchard is one of the first people within the series that is not, Lena, to push forward and inquire and ask and learn stuff. Before we do, too. Rusty Quill when I get you. Rusty Quill when I get you. And I looked it up also. Gwen is now the externals liaison, an external liaison, from what I gleaned, Builds and maintains beneficial relationships and communications with departments, teams, and organizations. Considering it's external, I feel like that's Avatar stuff. I feel like that's manifestation fear stuff. I feel like that's things that are dangerous, and I'm so excited to know what they are. But yeah, that is a lot for this episode. I'm really so tired and full of allergies that I can't wait for episode 8 to see what happens. So I will see you all for episode 8. Okay, I told myself that I was not going to do this. I told myself that I was going to take the time after work and relax. I just listen to the episode, write my notes. I'm going to try not to slam it as much as I did the last one. And I was just going to, take the notes and record the next episode. So tomorrow, record tomorrow. But, things change. And I have to talk about this stuff. Like, yeah, the statement, pretty good. Pretty amazing. And I liked it. And I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good episode. I'm going to record tomorrow. I'm going to let it digest and let it be. And then the rest of the episode continued. And I had to do this tonight. So, yes. Episode 8 of the Magnus Protocol, running on empty, is CAT2RBC336-1207023-280220224. 2 RBC is, I guess, architecture, liminal. We did get a 1 RBC prior in episode 1, which is the reanimation parentheses partial. But I am starting to lose hope that the codes mean anything. Someone else should do this instead of me, at least for the codes itself. I'm not a code person, okay? You're telling me a gay coded this stuff? No. Anyways, 2 RBC, architecture, parentheses, liminal, with 3366, hunger. So, yeah, the event of the statement occurred July 12th, 2023, and it was cataloged February 28th, 2024. It was written by Alexander J. Newell, and it aired February 29th, 2024. This is the last, I think this is the last time I'm going to do the to remember thing, because I am doing really well trying to remember stuff. I'll see if I come back to it later once it gets heavier in amounts in terms of like content. But whatever. My to remember is Hungry Architecture and Gertrude. Possible entities. A spiral, or the extinction, or the stranger. I'll talk about why it's those 3 and why it's mostly spiral. But I'm going to talk about my speculations about that, and etc., etc. And we begin straight off with Norris/Martin reading out the statement. And it is a coursework assessment of Terrence Stevens, who is the writer of the coursework. He's a student. He's the main character of the statement. And it's being reviewed by Joseph Peterson, who's a tutor at the, Lancashire University, if I said that correctly. And it is a case study of architecturally induced psychological stress from exposure to liminal spaces in the brutalist modes from Fortin Service Station. And so, as far as I can tell, I didn't really expand on it. As far as I can tell, the service station is basically like a bus stop, rest stop? Question mark. I'm not fully sure. It sounded like some sort of like rest stop thing, because of the liminality and stuff like that. I don't know about like a tower or something. And in the wiki, it shows a picture of this. Which I can understand what that is. I've never seen that in the United States, but I haven't been that very far, so it might be in other places. I don't know. But yes, that is the actual Pennine Tower at Fortin Services. Ooh, interesting, but whatever. And he talks about brutalism and liminality. Brutalism, of course, is focused on utilitarian purposes, and it's you see brutalism, you know brutalism. The video game Control,
is a good example of brutalist architecture used in horror. The movie Let the Right One In, the Swedish version, Swedish? The foreign version, not the remake, not the American remake, also uses heavy brutalist imagery as well. And liminality is in terms of transitory spaces. We also hear it in terms of transitory stages, such as passing from one age to another age in terms of anthropology, such as like teenage or like while you're in your rite of passage, etc. We see it a lot in anthropology, and we see nowadays a lot in terms of spaces where people occupy and move past through. So, for example, like I said, bus stops, airports, high schools at night. You always see like liminal spaces are a very big thing happening now in the zeitgeist of the internet culture in terms of horror, but also in terms of aesthetics. So you might recognize liminality from that. I also want to note, I looked it up, the author, Stevens, and by extension, Alexander Daniel, also cite 4 different people, and I looked them up, and they're all real. And we have Zumthor P. 2006, which I believe the thing that it is being cited from is from Atmospheres, Architectural Environments and Surrounding Objects. UG M. 1995 is on Non-Places, an intro to anthropology of supermodernity. Supermodernity, sorry. Bachelard G. 1994 is The Poetics of Space. And Trig D. 2012 is The Memory of Place. So a lot of it, like, very heavily, like, sort of idea of architecture and its effect on people. My boyfriend is going to love this episode at the beginning here, specifically because he is an architecture major as well. So I can't wait to hear him talk about this and hear that he finished the Magnus archives a week or two ago, and he started the Magnus protocol. And so yeah, so for in-services, the rest stop, I'm just going to call it the rest stop, is what he calls brutal liminalism, which has profound effect on his own experiences, and he goes into like the effect of this profound influence of his own experience. And he says it is an effect of an absence despite presence, or architectural hunger, which I like that a lot. I like that sort of like terminology there, and I like what I'm trying to like the absence of the effect of absence despite presence in terms of the absence of people, but the presence of people's like footprint thing that people did. Architectural hunger, like that a lot. And so the service station used to be like location that people would go to, but because there's more cars, and it became less and less used as a location but as a rest stop, and it became transitory as a rest space. Became trans, good for them. And there is also perceived time distortions, namely because there are no clocks and because it's used 24/7. There's no it doesn't ever close or anything like that. And he says that it becomes dislocated from humanity's shared mindscape, which you can interpret as he's trying to say that it is no longer part of something that we think about, and we see it as we pass or enter, and then as we leave, it's no longer in our sort of like thoughts. So he talks about how he is a night janitor, who after his nasty divorce, he also applied to be an architect. Well, after his nasty divorce, he became a janitor and also applied to be an architecture student at Lancaster University, Lancashire University. And the service station has the Pennine Tower, which used to be used for like a restaurant, with like
windows to show like all the outside, but it's since then just been closed, and the elevator's been like broken or replaced or something like that, and there's no way to get to there except through the service station, which is also just not very accessible in and of itself. And so he just, he's working there. He's been working there for some time as a night janitor, or just a janitor in general. Like, I guess mostly through the night. And one night, eventually, at one night, he starts realizing he's been seeing less and less people. And eventually, at one point, he's like, "Oh, I have not seen anybody here." So he like steps outside to check the parking lot, and he sees streaks of light in the parking lot that resemble time lapse of car lights. He says that it is very similar to the picture that his ex-wife, who was a photographer, took and gave to him of like the study of traffic or something like that. I think it was called, and it was time lapse of the cars moving around the highway. You see a bunch of these photos. I like to see it in terms of like the night sky when they do that. But yeah, so he sees those lights and he's like, they would be pretty, except they're kind of unsettling. And he sees the mist. He starts to describe it as like a mist begin to move, and he has to hide inside the station. And as he's trying to escape, he sees a smiling woman who's very thin in an elevator with a badge that says, "You are here." So he takes he goes into the elevator. He's like, "Thank you for helping me," and she's like, "No problem." She doesn't say that, but she's basically like, she says, "Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome you. You are here. Stay a while." As they get to the restaurant, and well, she presses the restaurant button. They go all the way up to the restaurant, and yeah, she says, "Stay a while," and this "stay a while" is repeated multiple times. And he gets into the restaurant. It's a full restaurant. It's like all the tables are seated by people, and the windows are like black. They look blacked out, and there's people who are like talking, but it's not actual talking. It's just like noise, like fake talking or something like that. And he starts realizing that, and he starts also seeing repeated features, like the same eyes, same mustache of people, different people have the same exact things. The chef also appears. I didn't write that down, but the chef also appears and talks to him and also tells him to stay a while. He eventually gets a look at... I have my shirt inside out? Whatever. He gets eventually a look outside of the windows, and he doesn't see anything. It is just a complete void. And he tries to leave because he's like, a little scared about it. And so he tries to leave, and people attack him and start to try to eat him. They bite him, but they remove his finger, and they start biting his leg and stuff like that. He manages to escape by jumping out the window into the void to escape. And he like was picked up by paramedics, and they're like, "Yeah, you lost your finger and all your other injuries, bite marks from the fall." So yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, it was that bloody brutalism architecture, hungry architecture that's making me hallucinate, and I jumped out the window because of that. None of that was real. That was just in my head because of the hallucinations from the architecture." So yeah, he's also been gone for an extended amount of time, which means something. It means he's been gone for a long time, and that's fun. And that's the end of it. He gets graded 28%, and I actually did check the math because it stated that his structured organism is only 50% proficient, his knowledge is only 40%, his understanding is only 30%, his analysis is only 10%, and his source material usage is only 10%, which, I mean, the 4 sources he used are all, like, real, so unless they were like, you need more or whatever, I don't see why he only got 10% for that. But all of that averages out to 28. So they did the math. They're not just throwing numbers out. They did the math correctly. And so the next scene starts, and Alice and Gwen are in the break room, not the bathroom, and they're arguing about coffee. They're just being petty about each other, and Alice is sort of resentful of Gwen's like new position. It's not so much that she is jealous or something like that. To me, it feels very much like she feels slightly betrayed that Gwen is no longer part of their like crew, even though they're not like together or anything. It still feels like a betrayal to Alice. To me, it feels like, because like Gwen is no longer one of them, And there's no sense of cohesion between them, but still, like, them being there, working there late nights, doing all that stuff, still means something to Alice. And and Gwen leaving is a sad thing for her to see. So she's a little resentful about that, and she turns that into her sort of like sardonic, sort of like, is that the right word? Sarcastic way of speaking. And so Alice is sort of resentful about that. Then through that we know that Gwen hasn't yet started her position. She says that Lena told her she will manage contractors. She will manage contractors, and that is interesting. I don't know what that like. There's some subtext there in terms of what contractors mean. Avatars. We also learned that Lena put Colin on mental health leave after destroying Sam's phone, which, if you remember from the last episode, he got an anger argument with Sam and broke his phone because Sam got an email saying a name and an address. So Sam and Cecilia, in scene 3, begin speaking to this guy. And I'm not going to recreate, but I'm going to, okay, I'm listening to this. I'm like, I'm gonna record tomorrow. I'm just listening now. I'll take notes and I'll record tomorrow. And I'm listening and I hear there's another voice and I was like, oh, that's not anyone's voice. At first, honestly, I thought it was Alice, and I was like, no, Alice is a little bit more feminine in their delivery. And so I was like, wait, there's a third voice here. And at first I was like, am I just mishearing Sam? And I was like, oh, no, it's just an actual third voice, because then I heard Sam speak, and I'm like, okay, so it's Celia, Sam, and another voice. I'm like, this voice sounds kind of familiar. Is this Needles? Are they speaking to Needles? For some reason, I thought it was Needles after that. I was just throwing out, ideas all of a sudden. It all came up, all started happening, moment to moment, as it was happening. I was like, yeah, this is... And then he started speaking more, and then he said, hi, my name's Jerry. And I was like, I paused. I was standing in the middle of my room. I had just gotten my water. I had just gotten my water. And I was going over here to turn back on the computer so I could take my notes. And I just paused here when I heard, my name's Jerry. And I was like, hello? Do you mean Gerard Key? Hello? And so I was listening. I was trying to pay attention. I was like, okay, there, he's going to mention his mother. I was like, okay, if it's Jerry Key, he's going to mention living with Mary Key, right? Because that, we usually see him in tandem with Mary Key in, transitory sort of state. And so he asked them, what were your names? And they were like, I'm Celia, and I'm Sam. Oh, okay, I'm Jerry. Hello? So I'm paying attention. I'm like, who, what else is going to happen? And then they asked, oh, is this your place? Do you live here alone? And I was like, we're going to get Mary Key here. And then he says, don't get me wrong, the landlord's lovely and all, but no, I still share it with Gigi. And I was like, who? Who is Gigi? And then Celia asked the same thing. And then you hear, that would be me. And it's fucking Sue Sims. I would know who Sue Sims is in a heartbeat. I screamed. I was standing here, minding my own business, trying to understand this horror podcast, and I hear my queen, Sue Sims, up here. Oh my god! I screamed. I'm screaming as much as I'm screaming right now. Thankfully, my roommate isn't here. So yeah, Gertrude Robinson is here. Gigi. She's only ever talked to by Gigi. She's mentioned by Jerry as Gigi. Oh god, I was screaming a lot. The transcript names her as Gertrude. However, because I'm following what is in the text right now, Gigi, she appears, and they're talking now. Celia sees, I'm going back to my notes now. Celia sees Jerry's painting, And she's like, "Oh, did you do this?" And he's like, "Yes, it's Camden Epiphany." And I know that means something. I know that means something. Or he's just painting it, because we know that he painted a lot. We saw in, oh my god, what was it called? Episode 4? Yes, I was right. Episode 4, Page Turner. We have the one of the first mentions of Gerard Key at that point, actually, and we know that he painted. He painted like something really nice, like, and it was a huge eye or something like that, with like some like text on it that Mary Key was showing off to Dominic Swain, and yeah, he's just painting. He's just painting now. He sounds also really happy. Like the transcript goes out of its way to say like, yeah, he's so happy. So Gigi asks, like, what are y'all doing here? And Sam asks Jerry about the Magnus Institute, and it's just pen drop. Nothing. They're like, actually, I don't, And Sam's like, so I was, part of the gifted program, and I was, trying to tell people about, trying to reconnect with people who were also in the gifted program, and try to track each other down. Now, I don't know enough about what the Magnus Institute actually does. So when he says he was part of the gifted program, that feels like a lie. And what feels even better is that Gertrude was like, well, I don't think... And then Jerry interrupts. Sorry, Gigi says that. Then Jerry interrupts and says, well, I don't remember most of it. So if it is a lie from Sam's part, that means Jerry is also lying? No, actually, that makes sense. It makes sense that, like, it's full truth. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Sam's obviously lying, but he knew about the gifted program. But obviously, Jerry was part of the gifted program because he says it very casually, very happily. Unless eventually we'll know that he's just a really good liar or something like that. I don't know. It's a lot of really high deception rolls and middling insight checks. But whatever. He tells them that, yeah, when he was younger, he was asked about stuff that he liked when he was a child, and he doesn't really remember it. And so after that, Gigi sort of just all but pushes everyone out and is like, okay, leave, bye. There's also like Jerry's like, you just come see me again. I'd love to have friends, and Gigi's like, they probably won't. Anyways, bye. And then scene 4, it picks up as Sam and Cecilia are leaving. I'm like, okay, great, cool down time. Cool down time. I was standing here after all that, and I was like, oh, Sue Sims, Gertrude Robinson, Jerry Key. And I'm like, okay, great. They're going home. They're going to probably flirt with each other. They're going to talk some cute stuff about each other, because that's cute. Sam and Cecilia, I ship them. And then Cecilia's like, hey, do you think you'd help me do some research with my mystery? Like, I had this idea of coming to speak to Jerry, which, oh yeah, I assume Jerry Key is the name that was given to Sam in the email from a John last episode, and I assume that's where they went. I feel like that's the, what is it, Occam's razor, parsimony, easiest answer. That's the name. They don't mention it. But yeah, Celia's like, I had the idea of coming with you. I had the idea of coming to speak to them. So why don't you help me with my research? I'm researching stuff regarding time travel, other dimensions, teleportation. So I heard that, and I was like, oh, okay, we're back on it. We're back on the horse. We're back in the fucking building. And obviously it's like, okay, does Celia know? Does she know? And yeah, it's, she's doing research for a podcast. Sam's like, is this for your podcast? And she's like, how do you have a podcast? And he's like, maybe I did a little bit of Googling. And she's like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing a favor for Georgie. Hello? Sorry. If I am screaming so loud, I am sorry. But listen, this is making me go insane. So yeah, we got a Georgie name drop, and then that's all we hear. I mean, obviously, Georgie, you know Georgie Baker, Georgie Baker. Also, Celia takes Jerry's painting. Good for her. And that's when the episode ends. Where to begin? This episode, I want to say, is not as insane as episode 7. However, Sue Sims in my Magnus protocol. So, okay, notes, I guess. Yeah. The episode starts from the beginning of the statement, which feels very similar to the OG Magnus archives because a lot of the episodes started straight from recount of whatever Jonathan Sims, the archivist, head archivist of the Magnus Institute London. And the statement of itself, it's either spiral, extinction, or stranger, or a combo of both, honestly. I'm mostly thinking it's spiral because there is mentions of hungry architecture, which is all about the distortion. Liminal spaces are very heavily spiral focused, and also smiling people. A lot of smiling faces is a very common motif of the spiral. Many liminal spaces are used for horror in terms of the spiral and losing your mind and thing that shouldn't be there is there, etc. Such as like the House of Leaves, which I read, which I loved. Anyways, extinction. So it mentions how there is well, most of the extinction episodes that we got in Magnus Archives are in terms of either doomsday or things replacing or trash and stuff like that, such as Concrete Jungle. So there's a mention here of sort of like this station was built for people to come to, and then humans evolved and changed, and now it became a transitory space, and people just left behind trash. Specifically, it says, this increase in travelers far beyond older design parameters has led to an ephemeral flux of people transitioning through service stations at all hours, leaving only trash in their wake. Which feels very weighted, very heavy in its focus, in terms of focusing on that. So there's mentions of refuse, it's a forgotten place, and there's people hungry for humans, such as reflection, and what was the other one? Time of Revelation, where things are replacing humans, and like specifically because of reflection, there's people trying to eat actual humans. That feels very similar to extinction vibes. Then we have a little bit of stranger with the fake people with the repeating features. That feels like something like the stranger would partake in. It's not as strong as a connection to the spiral extinction for me, but it's there at least, and I want to note it. I didn't note it in my notes at least, but I also at the beginning I thought it was going to be something about the lonely. I think this would have been also a very interesting place to have a moment with the lonely. But once we started seeing people, it stopped being the lonely. But it's a good like startup for being lonely, especially because he got divorced and lost most of his friends. He became alone and started doing his janitor stick. And when he stopped seeing people eventually altogether, it could be construed as he's being like hounded on by the lonely. But eventually we saw more people, fake people, but people nonetheless. So it doesn't seem to be very lonely in and of itself. Gwen hasn't started her job. She's working contractors. What does that mean? I do not know. Jerry's voice actor is John Gracie, who is the same as the OG Gerard Key from Magnus Archives. And Gigi is voiced by Sue Sims, who is an icon. We also get a Georgie name drop, which oh my god. Georgie name drop. We know she survived the events of the episode 200. So is she a different person? Is it the same person? Oh no. I have now underlined Celia knows. Which, yeah, she totally knows. She is doing stuff. Celia, you know, Celia. I know you do. So Jerry and Gertrude are back, and they're also pretty suspicious of the Magnus Institute because they didn't say anything when Sam brought up the Magnus Institute. Jerry seems very, very happy, but Gertrude seems to remember or know something along those lines. She's definitely trying to get, like, Sam and Celia, like, away from them. But yeah. Also, Celia's on What the Ghost, or at least writes for What the Ghost. So, if we get more episodes of What the Ghost, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but for some of the hiatus spaces between portions of season 5, they would release episodes of What the Ghost, voiced by Sasha Sims, who's the voice of Georgie. So, yeah, it's very. There's connections. There's connections here. My brain is exploding. Oh, P.S. There's also no mention of Jerry's hair. Like, Sam and Cecilia don't even mention that his hair is badly dyed. So, conspiracy theory, Jerry is back to his natural blonde self and no more badly dyed black hair. Until we get further notice. But, yes, oh my god, episode 8. I finally have all 4 episodes, episode 5 through 8, already talked about, and we shall see what happens in the next upcoming 4 episodes. Thank you so much for watching these videos, if you get to this point, and me rambling about the Magnus Protocol and my theories and stuff like that. And hopefully, eventually, things are starting to eventually pick up, and picking up a lot faster than in Magnus Archives. So, I will see you all as the next 4 episodes come out. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking about this season so far. I'm enjoying it as much as you are, I hope. And hopefully, we'll get some answers pretty soon. Thank you very much.